Yeah, the strongest I've ever. And I know you since you're 13. I think this impresses the shit out of me. Nothing impresses me. You know, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I don't lie.
With every boxing legend glued to their screens this November 15th, Showdown feels more like a tragic comedy than a real competition. Experts say it's predictable, 100% predictable. But now with Mike Tyson's muscle transformation looking absolutely insane, even that small sliver of doubt about the outcome has.
Such a power puncher. He used to speak to my mum on the phone regular, Mrs. Egan, chatting away, and she'd say to him, "Oh, Mike, thank you so much for looking after my son." But he was minding me as well.
Mike Tyson, the absolute juggernaut, is making headlines and practically scaring the soul out of boxing fans worldwide. And why? Because at 58, yes, nearly 6 decades on this planet, he's in shape so terrifying it could make the Grim Reaper reconsider his own job security. Mike Tyson isn't just in good shape, he's in holy.
Yeah, the strongest I've ever. And I know you since you're 13. I think this impresses the shit out of me. Nothing impresses me. You know, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I don't lie.
Called the authority shaped, we're talking about a guy who was pulverizing legends before Jake Paul even learned how to spell boxing. And now Tyson's unleashing training videos that could give actual nightmares to people who sleep with the neck.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Meanwhile, Jake Paul, our beloved YouTuber turned punching bag in waiting, must be nervously rehearsing his pre-fight excuses. Let's not get Jake's chick. He prances around with that smug, unearned swagger like he's the second coming of Muhammad Ali, when in reality he's barely survived matches against people who train for combat on reality TV shows. He thinks his 30-year age advantage means something. How adorable, kid. You're not stepping into a content collab. You're about to share a ring with a man who has perfected the fine art of turning human beings into unconscious blobs.
Footage ahead of his fight against Jake Paul, and honestly, I'm getting pretty worried for Jake. Here's the full clip.
Now Gene Kilroy, the guy who worked with actual boxing gods like Muhammad Ali, went as far as to say he's never seen Tyson this fierce. Even during Tyson's bone-crushing prime, Kilroy didn't lose sleep like he does now watching a 58-year-old with the punching power of an industrial wrecking ball. And Jake Paul, bless his misguided, attention-seeking soul, genuinely thinks he stands a chance. Sweetheart, you've got fans who cheer when you survive to round 3 against retired athletes. But this is Mike Tyson, the same man who even when he was barely 20 was making grown men reconsider life choices.
I think he believes he's the young guy. I'm the quasi-retirement child or whatever they may think I am, and he thinks this is going to be easy touch.
And let's talk about Tyson's current form. His fists are still firing like cannonballs. His footwork looks smoother than a TikTok dance trend, and his sheer intensity, it's the stuff of boxing folklore. Even Joe Rogan, the human hype machine himself, had to pause and let out an existential sigh. Tyson, in his older, wiser, and somehow even more dangerous form, could still vaporize most boxers today. He hasn't lost that raw power, that almost primal aggression that made his opponents see their life flash before their eyes. Meanwhile, Jake Paul can't decide if he's a fighter or a social media influencer.
Tyson to beat Marvis Frazier. You ever watch that fight? Yeah. That's my favorite Mike Tyson fight, because that was Mike Tyson before he won the title. It was ABC Wide World of Sports, and Joe Frazier had been talking shit about Tyson, that he was in his prime, he beat Tyson, and so he had his son fight Tyson, and it was...
Tyson's been calling out Paul's overconfidence, and honestly it's like watching a lion toy with a delusional gazelle. But Tyson, the man who lives for annihilating egos and jawbones alike, isn't buying the hype. Paul is 61 and probably thinks that counts for something. Guess what? Jake Tyson's punches have reduced taller, tougher men to shivering puddles. So your height is about as intimidating as a wet paper towel.
Because it's one of my favorite fights to watch, Tyson, because it's Tyson in his prime, where he was terrifying. He was so fast, and he would do angles, and he was bobbing and weaving. You couldn't hit him, and he was just...
Speaking of legends, Roy Jones Jr., who stepped into the ring with Tyson not too long ago, still flinches at the mention of Tyson's punches. Yes, even today Tyson can make you feel like you've been rammed.
Most punches that I haven't been in the ring. At 55 at the time, now I think 57, I might be 58. This is the strongest puncher
And let's be honest, Jake Paul walking into this fight thinking he's invincible is almost laughably tragic. Sure, he's got a beefy 230 pounds frame, and some wins under his belt. But none of that matters when Mike Tyson is locked in on you like a heat-seeking missile.
May look a little bit stiff, but his technique is still there. He has power as well. The power is the last thing to go.
And let's be clear, power is the last thing a boxer loses, and Tyson has that in abundance. Roy Jones Jr. already learned this the hard way in 2020. The dude admitted Tyson's punches feel like mule kicks even decades past his prime.
Oh, I don't think he's gonna be able to take that and make him on chin like that. We'll see, but
Now let's talk about Tyson's legacy, something Jake Paul will never understand. No matter how many fights he wins against semi-retired athletes and fellow YouTubers, Mike Tyson is a legend, a force of nature.
That's not the same 17-year-old boy I met yesterday. That's not the same 17-year-old boy I ran with this morning. That's not the same 17-year-old boy I sat next to him a minute ago getting here.
Yeah.
Then Cuss pointed to one of the big.
Here's the kicker. Some people are genuine worried about Tyson's health. They're afraid he might not be able to withstand a 27-year-old in his prime. But honestly, these people haven't been paying attention. Tyson's built different. He's not coming back to get embarrassed.
Quasi retirement child or whatever they may think I am, and he think this is going to be easy touch.
What a Ryan Garcia, an actual boxer, expressed his worries too. But even he admits Tyson's power is still bone-crushing. Garcia knows that boxing is a brutal sport, and then there's no nostalgia protecting you when you step in the ring with Mike.
He's fighting left-handed. He going both ways. You know what I'm saying? He was squaring up. He was doing things that you really it's hard to train for. So,
Logan Paul, Jake's ever-supportive brother, actually voiced some concerns on his podcast. Yeah, it's serious when even Logan Paul sounds worried. He's openly stressed about Jake not taking Tyson seriously. And if the Paul brothers are nervous, maybe we all should be.
Try to fight Tyson. If he knocks you out, but at least you fought Tyson. That's cool.
At this point, I think Tyson's 58, right?
Well, that's not okay. He's like 60 years old.
How much of his power do you think he lost? You think it's still Mike Tyson?
I think like that's it.
Jake, you better have a plan B. Those 230-olds of yours might look good in Instagram videos, but this isn't about who has the best workout montage.
Power puncher. He used to speak to my mum on the phone regular. Oh, Mrs. Egan, chatting away, and she'd say to him, "Oh, Mike, thank you so much for looking after my son." But he was minding me.
You can be tall, young, and arrogant all you want, but when Tyson throws a punch, it's not about age. It's about decades of mastering the craft of pain.
Hardest hitting puncher that I ever saw. Now, you guys are used to UFC. You're not used to watching boxing, but Tyson would destroy people in like seconds.
Both Mick, even heavyweight champ Shannon Briggs, couldn't help but be Ostra. Tyson's speed and aggression as brutal as ever. Meanwhile, Jake, our modern-day court jester, continues his childish parade thinking. He can mean his way through a fight, so what we got here is an epic clash. Or Mike Tyson, a man who strikes fear into the very core of seasoned fighters. The man still got the speed, the power, and the terrifying intensity to send Jake Paul straight to dreamland.